We are in Grand Rapids right now going book shopping. I found this very cute, what looks to be like a very cute bookstore and cafe that I've never been to before, but it looks big and it looks like they have really good...
We're going book shopping!
Really good selections. And I definitely don't need more books. My physical TBR is unending, but I haven't bought books in a while, and I kind of just want to get a lot of things right now. I just got the itch and the urge, and I think it's time, so we're gonna go into this place, see what's up, and see if we can find some good selections.
We're going book shopping.
Just in the corner over there, just trying to nap, and I'm really encroaching on her personal time. Usually I film in the dining room and they get to hang out in the bedroom, but we're switching it up a little bit today. Remy is currently sleeping at my feet and will probably be very disruptive and walking around at some point, but we're gonna see how far we can get with it. I got 6 books from this cute cafe and bookstore that we ended up going to in the city. I had to whittle this down from probably 12 books, and I had to be very, very vigilant in choosing which 6 that I was actually going to take home. I ended up choosing almost all new hardcovers, so didn't really get that paperback price break this time, but you gotta do what you gotta do. It's, you know, when a book speaks to you, a book speaks to you. So I'm really excited to read these and talk about these. Like I said, most of these were published, I think, in 2024, so I'm excited to read them and talk about them here. The first book that I picked up was One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. I love the cover of this. It's so summery. I know it's the end of the summer basically at this point, but I couldn't not pick this up. And Gabrielle Zevin has a review at the top of this, which is the thing that caught my eye about it, just because I love Gabrielle Zevin. I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow at the end of 2023 last year, and it was one of my favorite books that I read that year. So that caught my eye, also because this just looks like a romance book, and Gabrielle Zevin, from what I know of, doesn't typically write those types of books. So I think that there's more to this than meets the eye. From what I can tell on the back cover, it is about a daughter whose mom passes away kind of unexpectedly, and they were really, really close. They had planned an Italy trip in 2 weeks, and so the daughter goes by herself on this trip to Italy and then somehow meets her mother in Italy, but her mom at age 30 before she actually ended up having her daughter. And then they do the Italy trip together, but the daughter is getting to know her mom at a different point in her life and a different time in her life. So that was really interesting to me. And it also looks like a pretty short and easy to read book. I think it's under 250 pages. We do love a short read. So this one is intriguing to me. I'm excited about it. The next book that I picked up is called How to Read a Book by Monica Wood. I had never heard of Monica Wood before, but apparently she's a best-selling author of a couple other books as well. I love books about books and books about people who love books. So anytime I see a cover of a book that looks similar to this, where there's like a bookstore on the front or a library on the front, I always pick it up and I always read the back because I'm interested. So this one seems to be about 3 characters: Violet, Harriet, and Frank. Violet is a young 20-something that is recently released from prison for drunk driving and unfortunately hitting somebody with her car one night. Harriet runs the prison book club that Violet was a part of when she was incarcerated, and Frank was married to the woman that Violet hit with her car when she was drunk driving that one night. And they all meet in a bookshop, and that's kind of all I know, but I'm intrigued at where these relationships relationships could go, because they all seem kind of tumultuous, especially Violet and Frank, because from Frank's perspective, how could you see Violet, this young girl that had her whole life ahead of her, and then seemingly threw it all away because of a mistake one night? But not only did she throw her own life away, she threw somebody else's life away too, and it's your wife. It's the person that you're married to. And now you are almost in a forced proximity scenario with the person that hit your wife. I want this relationship to be written really well. I have high expectations for that because I want them to deal with the grief. I want them to deal with potentially forgiveness or guilt. And I want to see them grow and develop because I know that they're going to be together for the book. And then the other one, Harriet, no expectations. I think she's just going to be there and maybe be like a non-biased third party that kind of helps Violet and Frank figure things out. But I'm interested in the characters and the relationships that they will hopefully have. And I'm also interested in the setting. Like I said, I love anything that takes place in the world of books. And the cover is really pretty. So I'm excited about this one. This one as well looks pretty short and easy to read. This one is under 300 pages, so should be quick and good, hopefully. The next book that I picked up is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is the same guy that wrote The Silent Patient. So what's interesting about this book is that it was part of Book of the Month a couple months ago, earlier in the year, and when it was part of Book of the Month, I had still not read The Silent Patient yet, and I was still really avoiding mysteries and thrillers, and so I saw this on the website and was like, nah, that's not for me, I don't need to read that, and I think I went with some romance book that probably inevitably let me down anyway. But now at the bookstore that I was at this afternoon, after I'd read The Silent Patient and loved it, and I've been delving into a little bit more mystery and thriller books recently, suddenly I was super interested in reading this, and so this might be the one that I pick up next. I might read this as my next book just because I have really high expectations because of his writing style and the twist that he was able to pull off at the end of The Silent Patient. Could this be a 5-star prediction? I don't know, but maybe. From what I can tell, it could be another unreliable narrator situation, but it takes place on an island in Greece where there is a murder and there's a lot of characters going on and a lot of fraught relationships and mistrusting people and maybe some revenge taking place, all under the guise of this like Hollywood stardom and fame. I don't know. High expectations. I hope I'm not let down. What's interesting is going into The Silent Patient, I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't know what to expect. If anything, I was expecting not to like it as much because it's not in the typical genre that I read. But now, after reading The Silent Patient, this could set me up to not like this one as much just because my hopes are high. Just kind of a dangerous place to be in, but also a really beautiful place to be in. The next book I got, in hindsight, I'm not entirely sure why I picked it up. I think it's because of the cover. I really like the cover of this book. It's called Our Kind of Game by Joanna Copeland. This was in the, I think it was in the mystery section, and I was perusing there, found it, was intrigued because of the cover. When I read the actual premise though, I remember thinking, nah, that looks kind of boring. But then I felt how many pages it is. This one is also under 300 pages, and I was encouraged by my search for new mystery books that I love, and I liked the cover. That's the only reason why I bought this book. I actually thought that the premise did not sound interesting. I don't know why I ended up buying this. It seems to be a dual timeline that takes place in 2019 and 1987, and it's about these two women that are somehow seemingly connected with difficult pasts on both ends and now coming together in the present day, and that's really all I can kind of understand about it. I think there's a lot of secrets between the two women and their lives, especially the timeline that takes place in 2019. I think the woman in that timeline has built sort of this picture perfect life that is ultimately on a foundation of lies. And so I predict things will start to unravel and mysteries and secrets will start to be revealed and it will be chaotic. So I don't know when I will read this one or what I think about this one, but it could surprise me. It could be interesting. For now, I might just display it because I think that the cover is really cool. The next book is one that I have seen in bookstores basically all year. It came out earlier this year and I haven't really been able to escape it, but at the same time, I haven't seen a lot of people really talking about it. Critically, it seems like it's doing really well. It always has its own kind of display in Barnes & Noble and different bookstores that I've been at, but as far as booktube and bookstagram and the internet goes, I haven't really seen people's thoughts on this. So I picked up Feybound more out of morbid curiosity more than anything. It wasn't necessarily on the recommendation of anybody that I know or follow, but it's just that I've been seeing it for so long and I'm really just curious. It seems to follow these two sisters who are, I think, elves. One of them is a warrior and one of them is like a seer, or they're called diviners or diviners. She works in the art of divination, and somehow something goes wrong and they get banished from the elven lands and they cross the border into the secret Fey lands, and that's it. Apparently there's a lot of romance in it too. One of the blurbs on the back says full of magic, intrigue, and heart-stopping romance, which gonna keep it a stack with you. I picked it up because of the heart-stopping romance, because I feel like I haven't gotten a lot of good books with that recently. So I like the cover too. I don't really like the plasticky stickiness of it, but now I'm just being picky. We'll see. It seems kind of thick. I also know that this is the beginning of what I think is going to be a trilogy, so guaranteed it's going to end on a cliffhanger, which might deter me from reading it until I at least know when the second book is coming out, or if that date gets a little bit closer. I don't know. I might surprise myself. I haven't read a lot of fantasy, especially this month. I haven't read basically any fantasy, so I'm kind of starting to feel that itch again, but I might just read Throne of Glass instead. And then the last book that I got is actually the one that I'm the most excited about. It's called The Hazelbourne Ladies Motorcycle and Flying Club by Helen Simpson. This is a historical fiction that just kind of follows a group of women after the First World War. It takes place in 1919, and it's about these women that, when all of the men were deployed, they got a lot of freedoms and independence that they kind of were forced into having because the men weren't around to take care of the families and do the work and keep just society running. So women had to step up and do all of these duties that the men typically did. And actually a lot of the women found power in that and found some freedom and independence in that. But then when the war ended and all the men came back to town, they actually were stripped of that freedom that they had found. But it was under the assumption of, oh, you guys finally don't have to work anymore. You don't have to do the men's job anymore. Like, you can just go back to being typical wives and keeping up with the home. But actually there were a lot of women that were upset by that. So I think this follows a group of those women, and they're in a motorcycle club and a flying club. And I think it looks really quirky and really interesting, but also it could deal with some pretty intentional topics of being a woman, and especially what that was like back in 1919, 1920s, and kind of that era. I don't read a lot of historical fiction, but this just looks really whimsical somehow. And I could be totally wrong and misreading what this cover is like, but I just think it's going to be really sweet and just a beautiful tale of womanhood and friendship and sisterhood. And also I think there's a little bit of romance in it, so that could be nice. So yeah, these were the 6 books that I ended up taking home with me. I would love to know if anybody has read any of these books and kind of their thoughts and opinions on it so far. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna pick up next. It might be The Fury because I'm really in a bit of a mystery kick right now. I will say I just finished The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood. I'll talk about this in my end of the month wrap up and not really so much now, but holy crap, this book, I was super disappointed in it. There were a lot of things. I have issues with this book that I will go into, but I'm kind of at a place where I need a good read. Like, I need something good right now because I'm frustrated and a little bit angry with how this book ended up going down. So I know that I need to be very intentional and specific with what I read next, but it's either gonna be The Fury or honestly, potentially One Italian Summer. I'm in the mood for, you know, a mom-daughter cute European landscape book right now, but we'll see. Thanks for coming along on this video. This is kind of the first time that I've done a style like this, a little bit more adventurous, take you around on my book shopping day with me, but I really appreciate you watching and subscribing and hanging around, and we will see you next time.